thank y'all so much for coming in. Thank y'all for joining us tonight on Kicking It with Kirk.
Thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show.
Welcome to our second edition of Diversity in Lighting.
Tonight's video is super off the cuff.
The first question of the day, plain and simple, is marriage hard?
We're going to be answering a question from a guy. His current girlfriend has been communicating with a toxic ex-boyfriend.
How do we get BIPOCs into these positions of power?
I want to talk about performative activism and why it's so harmful to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So let's dive in it, man.
Revolution. If you don't like what we're doing, if you don't want to rock with the NFAC, that's cool. Form your own militia.
There is a playbook for this shit. It's not like we have to create it from scratch just because now we're all digital.
We need people who are there on the computer and off of it. You have to be there for the good and the bad. You can't just be there when it's most convenient for you.
If they was really about what they was about, they would have been at all the formations.
But you need to make sure also that Black ideas and Black people creating culture get funded.
It's not just who we see on stage, it's those that they point to at their curtain call.
Listen, have the conversation, be humble, admit what mistakes were made.
These chat rooms can go, boy. This thing has me rolling. Somebody did say, what about them women who be proposing to their men? Should the men take their last name? Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want to be a part of this fight, you're going to have to learn to be uncomfortable.
Revolution.
Hello?
Hey, yo, Cutter, what up, man?
What's up, APT? What's going on?
Yo, man, I got a problem.
What's that?
I got these two girls I'm seeing, right?
Uh-huh.
They're both just so good to me. I can't decide which one I should be with.
Man, I'm going through the same thing, man. I got two girls that'll do anything for me.
Oh, boy.
It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me.
And I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one. Yo, I got a hot chick living on the north side. I got a hot chick living on the south side. I got a problem cause I can't tell who to choose. They both seem like they both down to ride or die. My north side chick love to cook a brother grub. My south side chick love to give me back rubs. My north side chick down to pay a brother's tab. My south side chick always down for touch and grab. My north side chick knows how to ride the stick. My south side chick love to drive me in the whip. My north side chick loves to get all freaky. Yeah. My south side chick loves to get all freaky. Woo! They both like dress up and don't give a crap if their hair gets messed up. This is my confession. I'm just about ready to settle down, but I can't decide who I'm supposed to choose now. Oh!
It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me.
And I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one. Oh!
I got a hot chick living on the east side. I got a hot chick living on the west side. I got an issue, I don't know who to choose. They like me, and I like them both too. My east side chick is a white girl. My west side chick is a black girl. My east side chick likes to have sex. My west side girl got some big breasts. My east side chick freaky as she wanna be. My west side chick always protecting me. My east side chick take away all my stress. My west side chick, she don't take no mess. They both so mature, they both so gorgeous. I like both of them cause they not boring. But let me slow it down, I can only choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta pick one. It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me. I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one.
Hey, yo, I tried to be a player, but the truth is, a brother never ever been this ruthless. And if they ever find out I would do this, I'd probably end up with a broken jaw, toothless.
I used to do the same thing a long time ago, but it's time for me to let that player stuff go. Cause I got 2 hot girls just to choose from. Yo, how you gonna decide which one to lose, son?
Man, both girls got different stuff about my life, but I gotta dump one tonight, cause it just seems right.
I know what you mean, I want both girls in my life, but it would be wrong to have 2 girls for a wife.
Oh man, what are we supposed to do?
When you got 2 good girls, how do you choose?
I don't know, it shouldn't be as hard as this.
And if we choose the wrong one,
we'll all be pissed. Oh!
It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got 2 hot ladies, they both loving me.
And I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one.
Yo, I gotta choose one,
man, I can't choose one.
I can't have them both,
So I gotta choose one. Oh! Hey, big tank.
Carter.
Yeah. We're gonna have to dump one of them, man.
I know, man, it's gonna be hard, yo.
Well, I don't know. You figure out who you gonna get rid of.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to have my conversation on this side, man.
Alright, man. I hate to be the heartbreaker, though.
I'll call you tomorrow, see what's up.
That sounds good. Take care, man.
Alright. Peace.
Okay. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. Thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate you guys coming out to join us in the chat stream and to be able to talk with us. If you want to actually talk with us and have a dialogue, you can join the stream going to protestparty.tv and we can talk with me and figure out what it is we can do to help you with your dating life. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. First off, we're going to be talking about, let me see what I got in my notes here, how to date somebody who is the life of the party. A lot of times as introverts, we might end up getting with somebody who likes to go out a lot, does a lot of social events, and we might not be comfortable with that. And so how do you get comfortable? And this is actually going to be going off of a previous show that we did, actually the last show that we did, where I answered a question from a guy that dumped a girl because he was insecure about what she needed. And so I had some dialogue with this guy on Reddit, and I think it was fascinating what he wrote back, and it helps me to dive into the kinds of conversations you as an introvert need to be having when you are meeting women and you're dating them and you're actually going out with them and they're slightly different from you in terms of what they like to do versus you being a guy that wants to stay inside. And then we're going to go into how to get more confident approaching women. I know this is a subject that a lot of introverts face because you might be kind of anxious when you first see a girl or meet a girl, or you don't know if she wants to talk to you. And I kind of want to really talk about how you can really build that up and some of the techniques that I personally use to be able to get more comfortable talking to women that I didn't initially know. Okay. So we'll get into all that. But first, I actually want to talk about something that I saw this week that this show is not a political show. Like, I know I'm on protestparty.tv, so there's a lot of protest stuff that happens and a lot of political stuff. And this isn't really that show. But as you all know, Kamala Harris got nominated to be Joe Biden's vice president this week. And so they had the conference for that on, I think it was Wednesday, that they both got up and Joe talked about Kamala and how great she was and then introduced her to the country. And then she got up there and talked about what she wanted to do to help Joe and all this stuff. So this isn't a political show, so we're not going to delve into all of that because that's a different show. But I'm always looking at stuff from a dating lens. And I look at how people interact with their spouses in public and what that says about their relationship, or, with certain things, you can kind of tell if the person wants to actually be there versus if they're faking it for the cameras versus if they really don't like their spouse. We've had 3 years of being able to see an example of a woman who, let's just say her reactions to her spouse don't give me the biggest feel that she has strong desire to actually be with him on a real level. Okay. So I watched the conference. I saw Joe and Kamala give their speeches. And then at the end, they both come off stage and they're standing, I want to say like 6 feet apart from each other. And at this point, their spouses come out. So Joe's wife, Jill, comes out and walks over to him. And then Kamala's husband, Michael, comes out and stands next to her. And I'm watching this on screen and I'm looking at the interaction with Joe and his wife, where he's just like smiling and she's all like giddy like a schoolgirl, even though they're both older, just happy and excited to even hold his hand and be around him. And then I see Kamala's husband and she's just all like giddy and smiling at him and just being like, oh, that was such a great speech, whatever. And he's over there hugging her and just, it was just a real joyful look. So I'm seeing two people who, if nothing else, I don't care if you agree with their politics or if you disagree with them on a bunch of other issues, they are two people whose spouses emphatically love them and they love their spouses. And I point this out because the way that Kamala was looking at her husband and the way that Jill was looking at Joe, this is ideally how you want the girl that you're with to look at you. You want to be with somebody, well, one, you want to be treating the person that you're with the respect that they deserve, so they want to legitimately be around you. But you want to ideally find somebody that A, is going to be in your corner for whatever it is you're trying to do in your life, and also has a genuine joy when they're around you. And it was just, for me, it was a powerful thing to see that. Because again, for 3 years of seeing Trump and his wife, where it's like, you know, he'll be trying to walk and try to hold her hand and she like bats it away. And every time he's giving a speech, she's behind him just kind of looking like, I want to be literally anywhere else but where I'm at right now. Like, those are the kind of things that I look at. And seeing Kamala and seeing Joe and their spouses get along together, it was just a nice sight to see. Somebody in the chat stream said that's a hard thing to find, Harry. I do believe that it is hard, but part of that is because I think people bring a lot of baggage into new situations. And so they're so guarded and so looking out for, what is this thing going to be that tears down this relationship, that they don't even allow themselves to have joy in their own relationship, which then obviously projects onto the other person who's like, why isn't this person joyful? Does this person want to actually be around me? Like, what's this about? And it can be a hard thing. So, but ideally, you're working on yourself, you're becoming a whole person, and you're somebody that is genuinely happy with your own life. I don't think you can genuinely be joyful with another person if you don't have joy in your own life. So the more you work on yourself and the more you kind of start to bring about those things that make you happy, then you can find somebody that has that same energy. And ideally, you're able to make yourself happy, but also are willing to reach out to help that other person in their happiness. And it can be a thing that's I want to say reciprocity. It's a reciprocity thing where you guys are both showing back and forth that you care and are joyful for each other. Because when you do see it, it's a sight to behold. And like my parents had it, my brother and his wife have it, like they're able to still be around each other and still have that positive energy. And it's a beautiful thing. So that's just something I observed today on the political front, because I am a political junkie. I watch a lot of news things and I try to watch all the various debates, and when politicians come out and say stuff, even the ones I may not agree with, I try to catch snippets of stuff. But seeing that particular exchange was just a really, really nice thing to see. So that had nothing to do with anything. I just wanted to point that out. Find somebody that brings you joy and that makes you have as much joy as these people on stage had with their spouses. All right. So let's get into the first topic for today, which is 5 tips on dating somebody who's the life of the party. Now, on a previous show, actually on Wednesday's show, like I said, I read a letter from a guy that I saw on Reddit. And the gist of his thing was this. I'll read this over again really fast. It says, he was saying, we're both 30. Oh, he says, when he was with his ex, he started to wonder why she was with me and not with other people instead. The more time we spent together, it started to seem more and more like we weren't compatible. It says she was expressing that she needed things from a guy that weren't qualities that I had. And then he was wondering if anybody else had those feelings or if it was just insecurity on his part. So in the Reddit page, I actually wrote back to this guy. And what I noticed, I wrote to him, I'll tell you guys what I wrote. So what I wrote was, I said, so were you just constantly asking her, so what things do you need from a guy? And this is what I noticed a lot of guys will do, is they'll be dating a girl and then out of insecurity, they'll start asking questions like, so like, what are you looking for in a guy and a long-term mate? Not forgetting the fact that she is on a date with him and has been on multiple dates with him. So clearly there's something about him that gels with her. But guys, being themselves and wanting to get exact answers, they ask these questions, which makes them look insecure. So I said, were you just constantly asking her, so what things do you need from a guy? You got to stop listening to what women say and focus on what they do, which is what I said in the last show. I said, think of how many women say, I don't want a guy that will abuse or cheat on me, yet end up dating dudes and staying with dudes who do exactly that. I said, if she was with you, it means whatever subconscious needs she desired in her guy was stuff that you had, regardless of what her mouth was saying. This is why I tell men to never, ever ask a woman who's already agreed to a date with them or to be their girlfriend, but what are you looking for in a guy? It's a question that usually won't give you an answer you want to hear, nor will it always give you the answer that actually works in attracting her. So I wrote that back to him. And so in the first part of that, I was asking for specificity on, what things was she's actually saying that made you feel like this wasn't going to be a match. So he responded. So he said, well, there were a few times where we'd be in a social setting and she, who's a super extrovert, would be talking to everyone. And I, a super introvert, would be more quiet and standoffish. And we'd have talks where she'd say she wants me to, quote, be more comfortable in those situations because they're a big part of her life. I could tell she didn't like how we had different modes of operation or comfort zones in social settings. In parentheses, he says, neither did I. Whereas she had a few close guy friends who were much more social than me. So getting that and reading that allowed me to be able to get more of an idea of what this guy's real situation was, which was basically he was an introvert dealing with an extrovert, and he started to feel that she was not going to want to be with him long term if he could not make himself a person who is more prone to go to parties and is more extroverted and whatnot. And so this is a situation that I myself have also faced because I'm an introvert. Obviously, I do this show. And so realistically, the majority of the world is made up of extroverts. So by default, most of the girls you're going to probably date are going to end up being extroverted people. But does that mean you guys cannot gel well together? And my answer to that is no. I believe that part of the reason introverts have issues with this is because they're projecting. And this is, I've talked about this on the show before, but this idea of projecting your fears and insecurities and stuff onto another person to whereby you're putting stuff on them that you think they should be feeling, because if it was you in that situation, you would be feeling that way also. And so this guy's thinking, this girl's not going to want to stay with me because she's going to want an extroverted guy that can do parties. But what he's really doing is projecting his own insecurities onto her as if to say, I don't feel like I'm good enough. Therefore, you must not think I'm good enough to stick around because I know I don't want to be that guy like that, but it seems like you want a guy like that. And in the previous show, I mentioned that he said this girl was very, very heartbroken and seemed to like legitimately want to be with him, but he preemptively broke it off because I think subconsciously he didn't want to get hurt later by being surprised by a breakup from her, okay? And so this is why it's important to do a few things. And so I wanted to talk about this, which is why I want to talk about the 5 things that you need to be doing when you're dating somebody who's the life of the party, because there's nothing wrong with you dating somebody who likes to go out a little bit more than you or wants to go to more social events than you. And nor do you have to feel like you got to become that guy that wants to be on her arm at all these events. Okay. And so I'm going to tell you now how you can avoid that, but still be able to date these kind of women, because there might be a stigma that party girls have or social women have about, oh, they go out so much and they whatever. But the reality is, like, as an introvert, I personally like being with extroverted people because it gets me out of my shell. It gets me going to more places than I would normally go to. But I'm also my own man. And I also know that if I am tired or I don't want to go to things, I have every right to say, I don't want to do that. Catch you on the next one, and still let her go do her thing. Okay. So here's the 5 things. And this is things that really help me out in terms of when I'm dating extroverted women. The first one, very, very important, is you need to have the I'm an introvert convo with anybody that you date, ever. And I do this on date 1, where I go out, we're talking, and I manage to segue in to the conversation that I'm an introvert, whether they're like, so like, what do you do for work? I'll say some stuff like, well, I do this is true. I do most of my work from home. I do a lot of video stuff and I do a lot of website stuff when I'm not doing the dating stuff. And I say, you know, I'm very much an introvert. So I enjoy being able to have my alone time to really work on things and make money that way. And then when I want to go out, I'll still go out and do things or go hang out with friends. Or if I'm dating somebody, I'll go on dates and stuff like that. But I do like my alone time, and I'm an introvert. So I say it and present it in a way that is positive. I say, I'm an introvert, but I still like to go out. I'm an introvert, but I enjoy doing dates. I'm an introvert, but when I'm with somebody, I enjoy spending my time with them as much as possible. But the reason you want to mention this is because you don't want a woman to get blindsided 3 to 6 months into the relationship when all of a sudden you go from doing that guy thing where you want to act like you're cool with being out with her all the time to where it's like that first time you want to get your alone time, or the first time she suggests going to a party and you're kind of like energied out and you don't want to go. And now she's like, where is this coming from? What's going on? You said you presented yourself as this particular guy that seems to like to go out all the time. And now you're saying you don't want to go with me to this thing. You don't want me around right now. This seems suspicious. And women don't like suspicious. That's what throws them off. So by me saying early on, I'm an introvert, I can now go into what those various introverted traits are. I can talk to you about what those things mean in terms of I'm an introvert. So sometimes, you know, most likely I want to go out with you a lot, but there might be times where I'm just kind of like, I don't want to go, and that it just is what it is. And for women, a lot of times, as long as they know what to expect from you, then they might not necessarily like a particular trait, but it's better for them to know in advance what that trait is than being blindsided by it. So I have it on date one. I make sure I let the girls that I'm dating know I am an introvert. There are going to be times where I want my alone time. No offense to you. I don't want to see you. I don't word stuff like this, but I'm telling you what I'm thinking. And that it's going to be healthier for me to not get calls and texts every day and to not see you all the time. And that's going to make me actually appreciate the fact that you appreciate that I'm an introvert and that I need these things. And it's probably going to make me want to see you more. So get that out on the first date, and then you won't have this thing later on when they get blindsided. The second thing is to find ways to compromise on when you go to outings. Like I said, you're coming in as a super introvert. This person's a super extrovert. So there's never going to be a time where you guys are going to both get what you want. She's not going to turn you into somebody that wants to go out all the time, and you're not going to turn her into somebody that wants to be a homebody all the time. So there's a compromise. You can choose to go out a little bit more than you normally did, and you can find things like, for example, if you're going to like a party or something with her, and the party's like 5 hours, and she wants to stay all 5 hours, your compromise could be, hey, you know what? I'll show up a little bit later into the party. I'll stay for 2 hours, and then I'll head out around the time that people start, heading out anyway. And so that way she gets what she wants in terms of being able to say, oh, my boyfriend or my person I'm dating is with me, but you get your time to be like, I'm doing this as a cordial thing to you because I care about you. Well, then I want to go home. All right. So that's the second thing. Find ways to compromise. The third way to be able to date these girls that like to go to parties and stuff, and this is very important, especially for women, is that you need to assure her that you are having a good time, even if you seem quiet and standoffish, okay? Because this woman was coming in saying like, hey, I want to make sure that you want to do these things and have a good time, and I don't want you to feel bad. And part of that is because women don't want you to have a bad time. It reflects upon them, but also women that have a good head on their shoulders are typically nice people, and they want to make sure you're comfortable and that you like being in that atmosphere. And what a lot of introverts do subconsciously is they'll just stand there with a blank look on their face and just kind of beats themselves and looking around, and their face doesn't give any indication that they're actually having a good time. Like, I know me, I've been to places where I go to parties where I don't know a lot of people, and I'll be standing there, they're playing some music that's really, really good, and I'll just be standing there like, the music's good, I'm feeling the energy of the people around me. And sometimes I just want to feel that energy and I'm liking it. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm in my own world, just standing there having a good time. And but people I've dated in the past would think like, oh, are you having a bad time? Is everything okay? Like, I want to make sure you're not, being by yourself, or that's a problem or whatever. Cause I'm over here talking to these people and I know it's like weird. And I'll be there like, no, I'm legit having a good time. So again, as part of the conversation that you have early on, prior to going to these parties, you might say to her, hey, so if we're at the party, if you see me like kind of standing to myself, it might just be a moment where I need my alone time, but trust me, I'm still having a good time. Like, more often than not, if there's food there and good music, I'm good. If I talk to people, it's a bonus, but I'm still having a good time, okay? But also be mindful of your facial expression, because people are looking at your face and looking at you like, my God, he just looking like this. This is not happy or sad, but most people are going to take this as like you're either mad about something or at the very least you're not having a good time. So that's something you can practice, is kind of stay more like, yeah, this is nice. Yeah, all right. Nice little smile on your face, just to give people the impression that you are still having a good time and that you're approachable and that you are actually available for conversation. Number 4, understand that a woman doesn't have to like everything about you or your introversion to want to be with you. A big problem this guy had was that he felt as though, well, if I'm an introvert and I'm awkward at parties and don't want to talk, then she's not going to like that. And if she doesn't like that, then she's not going to want to be with me long term. Dude, I got news for you. Women who love and care for you still don't like certain things about you. But what happens is they look at the overall of the person and the overall of the relationship. So you're looking at this one thing like, oh, I'm not an extrovert and I don't want to go to parties and blah, blah, blah. And she's looking at, but he has good conversation. He in the bedroom, he's a dynamo. He knows how to cook. He's respectful to my friends when we do go out, when he does talk to them. So she's measuring all this other stuff, and you are focused on this one thing that you think is going to just be the end all be all for your relationship. And it's not like that. Just like you're going to have stuff about her that's going to be irritating or that you don't like, she's going to have some stuff that she doesn't like about you. And you know what? That is okay, because you're two different people coming into a situation where you're getting to know each other. And in the process of that, you're going to both learn this particular quirk this person has, not my favorite, but that's no reason to throw away the entire relationship, unless it's like a serious red flag, like they're Satan worshipers or they, want to hail Hitler or something like that. But, somebody might like that. But the point is, in terms of your like for each other, like, don't let those little small things be things that you end up leaving a relationship for that was otherwise going very, very good. Which leads to point number 5, is stop projecting your insecurities as if it's something she's feeling. Keep in mind, this whole conversation, he's the one that's bringing up to her, well, we shouldn't be together. And well, because, I'm thinking that, you're going to want this thing long term. And I don't know if I can be that guy for you. And but she expressed none of that. And women, when they want something done or changed in a relationship, are typically very good at first hinting and passively aggressing and mentioning it, but then eventually bring it to your face. Hey, we need to talk. Hey, so I noticed this thing. And so she didn't ever say, in terms of this being a long-term thing, that was going to be a big problem. She expressed that it would be nice if that's something that he did. But the reality is she probably didn't have that conversation with him about the fact that as an extrovert, these are things that he doesn't like. And having that conversation, he would have been less apt to have that conversation. So again, he's projecting all this fear and all this, scarcity mindset of like, oh, she's going to want these other guys instead. And then trying to talk to her about how there are these other guys that you could possibly be with that want to be like this, even though he still actually likes her. Like, stop doing that. And people do that all the time. They project. And you need to get out of the habit of like going to women and being like, well, you're probably not going to want to date a guy like me because of X, Y, and Z. And well, you probably feel this way about this thing. And so, because you're planting ideas in their head that they probably didn't even have. So stop doing that. So those are the 5. And then there's a bonus tip that's very, very important. If you're going to date a woman that likes to go to parties more often than you, do not be jealous of her when she's being her extroverted self at these events. And that means you're deciding to go and you want to be there, one that's like not talking to a lot of people, but she might be talking to other various women friends of hers, to other guy friends of hers. And what you don't want to do is stifle her ability to be herself, because just like you don't want her to stop you from being your introverted self or trying to nag you or cajole you into talking to people at parties that you don't want to talk to, don't make her stop talking to people just because you feel some kind of way about that, okay? And a lot of guys do this because they're jealous or insecure. They think, well, she's going to go talk to another guy that's more extroverted, and then she's going to leave me. And again, that goes back to number 5, projecting. Don't project, but don't stop her from being herself. If she's a person that likes to be social, then when you go to social events, she's going to be social, okay? You don't need to be the one that's hanging around her arm all night, but you also don't need to be the one that's trying to stop her from doing what she's doing, all right? So hopefully that helps you guys out in terms of if you are dating somebody that's more extroverted and also likes to go to a lot more parties. So let me check the chats here real quick before we get into the next subject of today. So you lied to her, basically. No, you don't. Again, you don't lie, but I find most guys get into relationships and they're just so happy to be there that they start out, I won't say lying, but they're omitting to the person they're with the things that actually make them happy or that they need to make this thing function. And so one of those things is like, I know for me, a lot of women would try to get me to meet their friends very early in the relationship. And I'm a guy that full-heartedly believes until me and her are established as a couple, the friends and family need to not even be there. But my past self, I'd be like, well, she wants me to meet the friends, so I guess I'll go ahead and do it. But then I'd be uncomfortable because I barely know her. Why do I want to just know these other people? So I had to be able to stand up for myself and say, hey, you know what? Like, you know, if I get invited to a friend's thing, I might be like, hey, you know what? That's cool. But like, I'm still I want to make sure we get ourselves established first. Or I'll do it where I'll say, hey, you know what? Let me not meet like 10 friends at one time. Let me start with like meeting one friend, get to know that friend, and then we can slowly build. That way it's not me trying to get to know 5 people at once and I'm diverging my energy and I'm feeling kind of anxious. Now I'm looking some kind of way for them. Like you can make it, you're part of this relationship too. So you can make it to where what's going to be most comfortable for you in order to make this be most effective in terms of having to meet her friends and stuff like that, you know? Okay, so now let's talk about how to get more confident approaching women. And for introverts in particular, this can be a very, very hard thing because it's already hard enough for us to really want to leave our houses and go out there and talk to the world, let alone try to go out there and talk to women. And even though I'm a big advocate of online dating, even with that, people will, you know, guys will sign up for online dating services and swipe, and then it's like, you know, they match with somebody and they don't know the first thing to send. They're worrying about like, if that first thing they're going to send is going to make her want to suddenly not talk to him. And so whether it's in the virtual world or whether it's in the real world, approaching women can be something that really causes anxiety and stress. And you might not feel confident enough to be able to approach the kind of women that you want to date, you know? And so when people come to me and ask, well, like, how do you get more confident? I'm 38. I've been doing this for years. And what I recognize is that a lot of getting confident in something, on this program, you're going to learn a lot of tips, tricks, and strategies and things. And I got ebooks at my website and I got video tutorials and I got a course coming out on the 26th that's all about like digital dating and stuff like that. And all those things are very helpful in terms of giving you strategies that you can use. But all this ultimately boils down to is being able to build confidence. And part of that is repetitiveness. It's doing a thing over and over again until it becomes so second nature that it feels natural to you. And for a lot of guys, when they start out in this dating thing, a lot of the stuff that actually works isn't natural. Like guys will come into this and they've been doing certain things for years that felt more comfortable, but are actually effective. And I was the same way. And once I start learning what actually works, part of me was like, oh crap, like this is new stuff. This feels awkward. This and that shouldn't work. And so I would try it out. But then I'd be so nervous that I'd revert back to the old way of me doing stuff, which didn't work, but I was comfortable with it. And so the more I started to trust in these various processes and the more trial and error I had where I kept doing the stuff my way and it wasn't working, and I started doing stuff these new ways and it was working, then over time, as you do this more and more, it goes from feeling like this thing that's like foreign to you, like, oh, this movement or this thing or saying things this way feels awkward, to where it's like, oh, like this is like my everyday, to where I'm at a point now where if I can tell within the first 5 seconds of meeting a girl based on just flirting with her or what I'm saying, if I can make this be a thing. Like I have that ability where I can literally like talk to women and I just kind of know if I do A, B, and C, we'll get a date, I'll get a hookup, I'll get a phone number. It is what it is. Like it's like a clockwork process at this point. But I've been doing this for a long time to where it becomes more natural. So for those of you that are not quite at that level where you're not too confident and you're still trying to figure out what things you can do to get to that level, here are some tips from yours truly, Harry Wilmington. So here's the first tip. And I did this back in the day too, is practice approaching women that you don't find attractive. And when I say approaching them, I don't mean approaching them with the intent of trying to actually ask them out, but you need the practice of being able to go up to a girl, say a thing, and get a response back and not feel so nervous about it. And this can heighten your anxiety if you're trying to practice this on women that you actually want to get with or that you find like totally hot and beautiful, versus going up to a woman that you either don't really have a crush on, or that is just kind of like so-so in the looks department. Because let's face it, guys, we get intimidated a lot of times by women that are extremely hot, but the ones that aren't, we're just kind of like whatever. Those are the women that you can practice these things on. So whether you're out in public, whether you're at a grocery store, whether you're at a party and you see somebody, like, practice this. And I did this in college. Like, I would go up to girls at parties that I was just kind of, like, I could take it or leave it. But because I had that take it or leave it approach, I didn't have all this pressure on me to, like, if I talk to this girl, I can't be stupid because I want to make it work. And if I don't make it work, rejection. So I'd go up to them. I'd be able to talk. I'd be able to practice a few things. If I wanted to get a little flirty, I could get a little flirty, and I could pull it back when I wanted to do that anymore. And as I did this more and more, it became a thing where just the practice of the approach, a lot of this is muscle memory. As you do, you say certain things, you make certain movements. This becomes part of your natural way, to where when you start getting to women that you do find attractive, well, you've had practice on like 10 or 12 other women. So now this is just another woman. Yes, she's a little bit prettier, and yes, you might like a little bit more, but it's just another person you're approaching, just like the other 12 people you approached before her. It's no big deal. You've now got a process in your head that you feel is natural to you and works, and you can now make this a thing that's going to be, you're going to feel more confident going to these later ones that you actually like. Okay. So that's the first thing, is practice on women that you don't find attractive. Another popular one is to actually like go to stores where they have the people in the aisles that have to talk to you, they help you find clothes or toys or whatever. Go practice approaching them, because they're women also, and they have to talk to you. So you'll definitely be approaching women that have to talk to you, and you'll get to see, like, your brain will start to realize, like, oh, when I approach women, they want to respond. And you need that positive connection in your head. You need to be able to connect. When I approach women, they don't mind responding back in a positive way. So you'll get out of your head about a potential negative thing. All right. So that's the first one. The second tip to getting more confident approaching women is to start taking notice of how you feel when you're talking to your guy friends, and then analyzing what it is that allows you to be more confident around them. Now, granted, chances are you're probably not trying to date your guy friends, but the point is, you need to really start analyzing how you are when you talk to your guy friends, when you're talking to family, or even talking to girls that you've known for a long time. What is it in that comfortability that allows you to talk normally to them and not get freaked out and not be over analyzing things versus a new person? I'll tell you, for me, the major difference I recognized was that, I don't feel like these people are judging me. Like, these people have known me for a while. They know my idiosyncrasies, my quirks. They also know what a great guy I am and other various things that I've done in the past. So when I go to them, there's a history there that lets me know that they are comfortable and that they're not going to like be heavily judgy on who I am, because they like me for who I am. Okay. But I was always in my head about, when I meet new women, are they going to judge me? Are they going to feel some kind of way about me, or the fact that I like to do certain things that might seem awkward to them? And what I came to realize was like, but wait, I do those same things around these people. And these people I've had friends for like 10, 20, 30 years that I've been the same way, and they're still rocking with me to this day. So if it's cool enough with them, then it's going to be cool enough with new people coming in. And if it's not, it just means that it's not a personal thing. It just, they gel well with a different energy, and that's fine. But the more you start to analyze the relationships that you already have and the conversation situations that you're in, you'll start to see like, oh, people do like you, and people don't mind talking to you. And you know what? Any girl that comes into that circle, you should be able to have that same confidence talking to her as you do talking to these people that you know for a long time. Because ideally, you're going to get to know her for a long time if you end up dating her, So that's a way to kind of look at that, is to really look at where you're already at in your conversation circles. And hey, you might go to some of those people and say, you know what, I'm trying to work on being less nervous. When we have our conversations, what are some things that you notice that I can improve upon? Because I've had that. I've had people say like, oh, well, you talk about yourself a lot, or sometimes you're really too quiet and you don't really add a lot to the conversation. And feedback from people that you care about is golden, because at least they're doing it not from a position of like, well, I don't like the way you do this in conversation, and by the way, I'm rejecting you. They're doing it from a position of, if you want my help to better yourself in your conversation, so you feel more confident going forward, these are some avenues that you could work on. So that's the second thing. Number 3 is stop trying to act like someone else and become more confident in who you are. And this should darn near be the introvert creed, because so many of us are down on ourselves for, wanting our alone time, or for being low energy, or for not being able to be as boisterous as our extroverted counterparts. And I thought this way back in the day, but then I realized as I got older that women actually responded very positively to my introvertism. You know, they liked the guy that wasn't going to try to go out and run around a town and try to beat every single party and talk to every single girl in town. They liked the fact that I was the place they could come to for, you know, quiet and for real deep conversation, because as introverts, we're all about the deep conversation. And, you know, so I realized that I didn't have to be this overly boisterous person in order to make women want to date me, you know? But back in the day when I was trying to be that extroverted guy, I would try to do that. It wasn't coming off as authentic, and I was tiring myself the heck out, because that's a lot of energy to spend. Extroverts have energy in spades to go 5, 6, 7 hours straight talking to people and be good. I know my limit at most is like 2.5 hours. I can push it to 3 if I'm stuck someplace and I have to do it, but that's not my normal state. And again, all my friends know this, and the girls that I date also know this. So it's like, you can find somebody that's going to appreciate you for who you are. And ultimately, women want to get to know the real you. They want to interact with who you actually are. And you trying to fake like you're somebody else in the hopes that it's going to get you more women is typically not going to be in your best interest. All right. So before I get to the next reason, I'm going to check through the chats here, see what people are saying. So you know to be talked to. Just because you don't find her attractive doesn't mean she has to talk to you. That's very true. And that's the thing too. Men need to get used to, actually, I'm going to get into that for the fifth point, but men need to get used to rejection also. Like, not every girl that's not attractive is going to want to talk to them, and that's fine. But men need to get used to that also, because I think especially in this country now with the current generation, where it's like they've been babied and coddled and made to believe like, oh, you should get everything you want. There is something to be said for the exercise of going out there and getting rejected. Because the thing is, when you first get rejected, that's going to hurt and sting. But that also becomes a habit also, to where, you know, the first rejection stings, and the second one and the fourth and blah, blah, blah. But by that 10th rejection, it's kind of like, oh, this is just something that happens. It's just part of the game. So you become less sensitive to when you get rejected versus assuming that every girl should want to talk to you. And if they don't, then, oh my God, your life's over with. So some of those girls that you do talk to that you aren't all that attracted to will reject you. And that's fine. I did not at all say that these women have to talk back to you. I said most of them probably will, especially if you're not trying to go at them in a situation where you're trying to actively ask them out on the spot, because that's not really your agenda. But yeah, if some of them happen to not want to talk to you, you need to get used to that too, because some women won't talk to you because they don't find you attractive, or they're in their own head about things, or in our current situation, they don't want people 6 feet within them due to the pandemic. Like, there's tons of reasons why women won't talk to you, but regardless, the rejection, feeling that needs to be part of the process. And I'll talk about that a little bit later down. Anyway, let's go on to number 4. How to get more confident approaching women is you need to get rid of what I call negative self-imagination, and actually start to picture things going well. And this is what a lot of guys that are anxious and insecure do, is they'll see a woman and they want to approach her, and they get this story into their head about the worst thing that's going to happen. Like, I see a girl and I want to approach her, but then like, what if I go up to her and I sound stupid and she rejects me, or she says she has a boyfriend and he's going to come out of the store at any moment and want to try to beat me up, or she's going to think I'm harassing her, and that's going to be a whole thing, and I'm going to feel bad the rest of the day. And unfortunately, what I recognized in the last few years is that most people have been taught to have a negative agenda. And I mean that, I mean like, most people's conversations are actually very, very negative. Like, if you're talking to somebody, typically it won't be like, oh, I had this good thing happen to me today, and the other good thing happened. Most likely it's going to be like, oh, this thing happened. This girl was a bee today, and then my car was stuck in traffic for 40 minutes, and that also then goes into how we view situations. Oh, you should start a new business. Well, I don't want to start a new business because X, Y, and Z might happen. I might lose money. Oh, you should go approach that girl. She's been looking at you for like 5 minutes. Oh, what if I approach her? That's going to be a thing because, what if she just want to talk to me? And we get into our heads and we create an entire scenario of this negative thing that has no proof of happening. And some of that could come from previous baggage where it might have happened once or twice in the past. And now you just had that as your framework for every approach that you do. But yeah, you need to start getting to the idea that most people that you approach, especially most women, the majority of women, assuming you're not approaching them like, hey, baby, I want to touch X, Y, and Z. Like, most women, if you go up to them and say, hey, what's up? Or, hey, I got a question. Or, hey, can I stop you for a second and ask you something? Are going to be receptive to that. Okay. So you got to get this negative thing out of your head that when you approach women, it's going to be a bad thing. Women the number one complaint most women have nowadays is that men don't approach them. Like they're walking around and they see all these men that look like, because women can tell. Women will look around and see that a guy wants to approach them. And in their head, they'll be like, okay, he's looking at me. I'm gonna look back at him. Okay, so I gave him the look. He's gonna approach. And he's gonna approach. And he's not approaching. And what's going on? Well, he's, okay, it's another guy didn't approach. And traditionally, most women do not feel like they need to be the ones to approach first. So they might do or say things or like hint things towards you that is supposed to indicate to you it's cool to approach. But if you have this negative thing going on in your head that says me approaching is bad, or, oh, I can't be that guy, or, oh, they wouldn't want to hear that from me, then you got to get rid of that. You got to practice that. And this goes back to, that's why I said the first one is practice on women out there in the world, like whether they're unattractive or whether they're in a store or whatever, is that you need to get this thing out of your head that you approaching women is going to be seen as a bad thing. Okay. You are your own worst enemy. You are the one that is blocking yourself right now from approaching women that actually want you to approach. And I've been told by friends of mine that there are women that wanted me to approach them back in the day, and I didn't, and I missed out. And it was because I was just, well, they won't want to, and they know this thing about me, and I'm not going to and I missed out. And I don't want you to miss out. I want you to be able to have every opportunity that you can to be able to date the kind of women that you want. And if you see one out there that you think might be a good match for you, then you got to be like, yeah, I'm the best thing she's going to talk to today. Let me go up to her and see what this is about. Have that kind of confidence in yourself. And then that will project onto her and hope she'll be like, oh, he was really confident to approach me. Like, I guess I'll give my number. Like, you'd be surprised how well that works. So that's the fourth thing. The fifth thing you need to do to get more confident. So going back to the thing I was talking about earlier. Number 5, expect eventual success by running into rejection and making it a game. Because part of your anxiety right now is feeling that if you approach a woman, she's going to reject you. She's going to not want to talk to you. She's going to laugh you off the face of the earth. And I have found that having that fear doesn't help you, because it is going to happen. Inevitably, you're going to talk to a girl that doesn't want to talk to you or be with you. So rather than have the goal be, I want to talk to a girl, but make sure that the girl I talk to is going to accept me for what I am, you need to make it a game where you flip it on its head and you actually go out there seeking rejection, because you already know rejection is going to happen. But within your rejections, you're going to find success, but you only get towards success if you're willing to go out for rejections. So I make it a game. I tell guys this, I say, okay, you want to meet a woman that's going to eventually want to give you the phone number and talk to you, whatever. Fine. So you need to set it at your mark that your goal is to go out there and get rejected by 50 women. You need to literally like go out there and make it a game where you're going to approach a woman fully expecting that you're going to get rejected. Because now what happens is, instead of the brain expecting you're going to try to get a girl, but there's going to be failure. Now it's like you're going out there seeking failure, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go to this girl. I'm gonna go talk to her, and she's gonna say no. So let's just get it over with. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, and talk to her. Oh, she rejected me, whatever. So I did this back in college as an experiment. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and just talk to women and just see which ones are I'll just go up to them and just, first thing I say is, hey, we should go on a date. And I'm fully gonna get rejected, but I gotta do it to see what'll happen over time. And I literally did that to like the first 3 women that I approached, and they all said yes to a date. So at that point, I'm like, oh, I fully expected to get rejected, but like, this is a happy thing. I got 3 dates now that I wouldn't have had if I had been like, well, I want to ask them out, but if they say no, I'm going to be rejected and I'm going to feel some kind of way about that as a man or whatever. So yeah. So running into rejection, if you set the number high enough, then by your goal being, let's say 50 people, okay? Now you're gonna be more motivated to be like, okay, so I gotta get 50 rejections. I gotta start this off right away. And what you'll find in the process of that is, one, you'll be less afraid to try stuff that you wouldn't have tried before. And also, you'll be pleasantly surprised at the fact that it won't take you a lot of tries to actually get a yes. Like you might go through 3 or 4 women and talk to them, but then the 4th one is like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll give you my number, why not? So it's a way for you to start being more confident, because you're basically going to trick yourself into proving yourself wrong. You think right now, if you approach a woman, she's going to say no. But by doing this exercise, you're going to prove to yourself that women actually want to go out with you. And that is a great thing for the psyche to have, okay? And then, so that's the 5 things. And then the bonus thing number 6 is very important, okay? Remember this. And I've said this on shows before, but I just want to drill this into your head, is that approaching someone is not a marriage proposal. I think a lot of guys put so much emphasis and so much like force into the approach is the thing that's going to be the end all be all. And part of this is because of TV and movies where it's like, oh, I was looking at you from afar and I didn't know what to say and how to approach you. And really that's like the beginning of this entire process. Okay. So you're not asking them to marry you. You're not asking them to put a ring on their finger and live with them. You're simply approaching them to inquire about them, to inquire about how their day is going or where they're going to or what they're into, or, hey, you look like a nice woman. I was wondering maybe like if we could exchange phone numbers and talk. Like none of these things are things that are like heavily intensive, but we build it up in our heads so much that it can feel like that and then cause us to not be as confident approaching. Okay. Women get approached all day. So your little approach is nothing new to them, okay? You're just one of the many guys that have talked to them today. But the fact that they expect it works in your favor because that's not going to be this weird thing when you approach them because they probably got approached like an hour ago by somebody else also. But if your approach is a little bit more confident and if you're able to go up to them and not be like some kind of weirdo guy with some odd type of pickup line, then you have a better shot than those other guys did. And more importantly, like I said earlier, girls want guys to approach them because inevitably one of these guys that approaches them, they're going to find attractive and want to give their number to. And you could be that guy. So, but you got to understand going in, like I said, you don't want to make this a heavy, intense thing like, hey, so I saw you from across the way and I just thought you were the most beautiful thing ever. And I thought maybe it'd be great if we had kids someday and maybe like you'd be willing to like give me a date. Oh, pretty please. Like, that's not the approach that's going to work. You can approach in a way where it's more respectful, where you're a little bit more, having more pep in your step, you're a little more confident, and you can actually like start a conversation with strangers. And I've been out there where I'm just walking by myself and I see a girl and you start talking to them. It's like they actually were looking for a conversation. They were by themselves thinking like, oh, this is cool, but it'd be nice to have somebody here to talk to. Now they got somebody to talk to. So you actually made their day by going up to them and starting a conversation. How cool is that? So to recap, how to get more confident when approaching women. Number one, practice on other women out there either that you don't know, that you don't find attractive, or maybe you do, or that are, you know, working in stores and stuff like that, just to get practice approaching women. Number two, take notice of how you feel when you're talking to guy friends as well as friends and family, and really analyze what makes you more confident around them. Number three, stop trying to act like somebody else. You being an introvert is perfectly acceptable. It is A-okay. And honestly, most guys that get older, we start talking to less people anyway. So it's good to start getting used to being that way now because you already are like that. Number four, get rid of negative self-imagination and picture things going well. Number five, expect eventual success by making rejection a game and running into it. And then, of course, the bonus one, remember, very, very important to remember, approaching someone is not a marriage proposal. It is an inquiry, okay? It is nothing more than trying to see if a person that you look at that you think might gel well with you actually does or not, okay? So keep those for yourself and take those to heart, and hopefully that helps you out, all right? So that is all that I have for today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's show. For more of these shows, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other places where podcasts can be found. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments below on this episode. Also, you can catch these shows live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at protestparty.tv. That's where we're at in the chat stream, where you can chat with other people, and I look in there occasionally and see what's going on. Yeah. So also, if you like my work and you want to support and whatnot, you can go to the website, click on the tip jar tab. You can also go to the protestparty.tv and leave a tip there as well as getting some pretty nice merchandise. You can also go to my website to check out my 3 ebooks. I got an ebook called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. I got a book called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, and a book called Texting Like a Boss, which actually teaches you the do's and don'ts of texting most effectively. All right. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got, guys. I have a program coming out on Wednesday, August 26th called Smart Digital Dating. And this is my complete system that will teach you the A's through Z's of how to set up your profile, create a bio, get the right pictures, talk to, meet, and attract women on online dating platforms. I've been very, very successful in being able to get consistent dates and relationships from these platforms. And for those of you guys, especially introverted guys, like, let's face it, it's good to be able to figure out in advance how somebody is and what they're about and what they like before we have to talk to them in person. So online dating is a great platform for that. And you will get immense help by getting this program. And I'll talk more about that starting next week. All right. That's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys next week on the next show. I'm out. Peace.
Thank y'all so much for coming in. Thank y'all for joining us tonight on Kicking It with Kirk.
Thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show.
Welcome to our second edition of Diversity in Lighting.
Tonight's video is super off the cuff.
The first question of the day, plain and simple, is marriage hard?
We're going to be answering a question from a guy. His current girlfriend has been communicating with a toxic ex-boyfriend.
How do we get BIPOCs into these positions of power?
I want to talk about performative activism and why it's so harmful to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So let's dive in it, man.
Revolution. If you don't like what we doing, if you don't want to rock with the NFAC, that's cool. Form your own militia.
There is a playbook for this shit. It's not like we have to create it from scratch just because now we're all digital.
We need people who are there on the computer and off of it. You have to be there for the good and the bad. You can't just be there when it's most convenient for you.
If they was really about what they was about, they would have been at all the formations.
But you need to make sure also that Black ideas and Black people creating culture get funded.
It's not just who we see on stage, it's those that they point to at their curtain call.
Listen, have the conversation, be humble, admit what mistakes were made.
These chat rooms can go, but this thing has me rolling. Somebody did say, what about them women who be proposing to their men? Should the men take their last name? Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want to be a part of this fight, you're going to have to learn to be uncomfortable.
Revolution.